We're here with NFL Network's Judy, Battista, the Walton-Penner Family Ownership Group, just introduced by Roger Goodell. What do you think they're going to be able to bring for the Broncos and the NFL?
Well, look, they certainly know how to run a successful business. That's an understatement. And they made the point they're bringing on limited partners who have a ton of experience with successful businesses. So certainly I think that, and look, that's like an underrated part of owning a franchise is just running a stable, well-run organization that doesn't go up and down, knows how to hire people. Certainly, they alluded to they're going to make some changes, it sounds like, pretty quickly. But I think the expectation in the league is that they're on the big picture issues, like the stadium, for instance, which they talked about. They're going to be deliberate. They're going to take their time. You know, one advantage that they have is that it's not just Rob Walton, but they've already made plans for the next generation. And so they can afford to not look just 5 years down the road, but 45 years down the road. And I think that'll be good for decision making, because on a thing like the stadium where you really have to think, decades out, they can afford to do that.
They said that just like Pat Bowlen, winning is number one, their number one priority. Did you have any other takeaways from what they had to say up there?
I was struck by a few things. First of all, that they had talked internally about, even back 10 years about would there ever be a possibility for them to own this franchise? That was, for context, was when Pat Bowlen was beginning to ail. I think Rob Walton was the one who said this was the only sports franchise they would have bought. This is the only one they wanted. They all have homes in Colorado. They're really excited about it. That was my takeaway, is that this seems genuine interest and not simply a business investment.
They also said that diversity was going to be important to them, and obviously they brought that into the ownership group there. That's a good sign for the NFL, right?
It's really important for the NFL. It's a huge priority to diversify ownership, and they didn't just bring in diversity. I mean, they brought in like immensely successful people in their fields. And again, people who know how to lead and know how to run successful businesses. And I was struck by Rob Walton saying he thinks diversity enhances leadership and enhances businesses. And that is an important thing, certainly in the Denver community, but in the ownership group, of the NFL generally too.
The last one for you, Judy, just a record-setting deal here for North American sports. What do you think that says about the state of the NFL?
Well, I mean, the state of the NFL is great. This is, the Broncos are an unusual franchise because they basically dominate that entire Mountain West region. So they have an enormous region that they control. But I was talking to people in the hallway today saying, this is the new high water mark. And the next team that comes on the market. I mean, those are now the prices you're looking at. We know the NFL is tremendously successful, but this is a huge price to pay.
Judy, thank you so much for your insight. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.